So Panasonic's like your third cousin whose parents were drunk and siblings, and they wore clothes while they had sex. They're good people, but come on. So today I just want to talk a bit about why I sold my Panasonic S1 as a filmmaker, movie/cinema expert. And we'll talk about it. Talk about the Sony A7S III, Panasonic S5. Is there any hope for Panasonic in the future?
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
If you're curious, we're on the Sony A7S III, 20mm Tony 1.8 at Tony 2, Black Pro Mist 1/4 filter. We are doing it. Also, we're just in 1080p here. The first video I made was in 1080p, but it wasn't the all intra. I didn't even realize that was a thing. There's a lot of different categories, so now we're in the all intra, best quality 1080p that Sony can do. So when it comes to the Panasonic S1, don't feel bad because you still have it. And you're like, oh no, he's insulting my camera. It was fantastic. I argue to this day that Viltrox 20mm Tony 2 manual focus lens might have even surpassed this image we're getting. We're at Tony 2 to replicate it. It looked glorious. It was just so heavy. So that was my first complaint, and maybe that's a benefit for you, that it's heavy and it's, oh, this feels like a real system here. But for me, I want it to be simple, one-handed operation, solo. It's got to be light. So I had this thing, the camera itself, body only, weighs over 1,000 grams. God forbid you want to put a lens on that thing. So it was so heavy. And once I got the Fuji X-T4 and I compared its image quality, and I was like, my God, it's like I preferred the Fuji image, and it's only APS-C. The dynamic range was close, if not better in some situations. Colors I preferred, flippy screen, autofocus, kind of. It's better now. And I was like, when would I ever use the S1? Really, the Fuji X-T4 killed it for me. It was just such a much better camera, and I preferred it in every situation, and it was lighter. And then all these rumors started coming out with the Sony A7S III and the Canon R5, and I was like, my God, like, what is Panasonic's future? They're not going to compete with this. I know they're not going to add phase detection for years, many, many years, and it's glorious to have. For that reason, but it made me think, when the Sony and Canons are released, this Panasonic S1 is going to plummet in value. People are going to see it for what it is. A machine that can't autofocus on a kitten in a white blanket, a black kitten. And that's one of the major reasons, autofocus. Let's just get that out of the way. You can't rely on it. Sometimes it works. The Panasonic S1H with the native 50mm 1.4, I seem to be able to sit down on a chair and it could keep up with me. That's like asking a teenager, can you keep up with that 95-year-old man with a walker? Like, yeah, probably. I'll push him over and take that cart and sell it to Kodak. I'm on a new street, by the way. You've never seen it. I've never seen it. It's just houses and trees. But when you take that same S1H out into the field and you start walking, I was using their 24-105. That's a Panasonic native lens at Tony 4. And I was out of focus half the video. It's not usable. And then you have their L-mount Alliance, which I've said in many videos is not real because Panasonic's so bad at autofocus, you can't even design a lens of partnerships and friendships to work with it. It's like nobody could. It's like having a really bad kid and you have a babysitter's group and it's like, yeah, don't bring your kid. He sucks. Your bad apple kid makes other kids worse. And that's what Panasonic cameras do to other Sigma lenses. We know Sigma can autofocus on Sony systems and other systems, Canon, no problem. It's the Panasonic, you're the problem. For me personally, I want to grow with a system and know that there's things to look forward to and lenses to upgrade. And I was looking at my S1, I had the Voigtlander 35mm Tony 1.4, manual focus only. It looked pretty glorious, although it was very, very soft at 1.4, and I don't mind it. It's about this softness with my filter on in 1080p. I enjoy it, the teenage girl skin abilities of my heart. I had that 85mm Tony 2. I don't think I've ever seen a better image out of any camera that I've shot with. That squirrel B-roll with that lens, I was like, I got a couple of them in focus and I was like, wow, that is beautiful. But for my practical uses, just being a YouTuber, talking shit to cameras, sitting down, autofocus is necessary. It's so much easier. So I kept asking myself, like, what lens would I buy? Like, if I'm gonna keep this camera, I wanna buy the best lens. There was nothing on the roadmap, and I knew I couldn't trust the autofocus, so I was like, I don't think I would spend that much money on a camera I know I'm not gonna be happy with. So that was it, the Fuji X-T4 looking better, and then the autofocus just being so subpar, and then the giant obesity style lenses and body. That hurt. When it comes to Panasonic colors, I'm on the fence. Sometimes I look at them, I'm like, that's better than anything I can do. That's better than the Fuji right there. And then other times I'm like, it's got that pink skin, like pig skin. Why? And I see it in other people's videos. What Jordan Drake from DP Review uploaded, it was a while ago, a couple weeks, and it was about the Panasonic S1H firmware for raw video. And immediately I saw that same look, the same color skin in my face that I see on my S1 videos. And I was like, I don't like it. Fuji's so much better. It looked good on Chris Nichols' skin, so they do Asians well. Beauty mode for Asians confirmed. But us whiteys, we got issues. To be fair, I'm not a huge fan of the Sony colors either, and I have to switch it to an eternal LUT to even save some grace. But when we do, we have the cinema. I know you can color grade and change things, but I don't want to have to. It should be a simple convert your log to an actual image, and then maybe I'll tweak the highlights a bit. Am I clipping? A little contrast? Desaturate maybe? It's like I don't change much. I shouldn't have to change reds. What the hell's wrong with my mouth? I shouldn't have to change reds to orange, and then oranges to less pink, and like the hues of magenta into a green. So Panasonic colors, not a huge fan of, but I will say this, outside, decent. I like the saturated green look, and it looks good, and the skin tones are better outside, but when I get home, even though I white balance the same, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Skin tones, Fuji wins. Sony and Canon as well. Now another deal-breaking flaw that I couldn't overcome. I found a workaround, but still, no flippy screen. You gotta have that thing. I had a mirror hack on it, and with that 20mm Tony 2, I couldn't see it. It wasn't good enough. Even this is hard to see. You gotta have a much better screen. They had a good one, but it wasn't facing me, so it was so hard to manually focus for the vlogs, and then in the studio I could hook it up HDMI to my monitor and see it, but now I can't do that because I face the other way, so I'd have to be in focus and then look back at my monitor. It's like, is the back of my head in focus now? So that means my eyes will be? No, I'm telling you, flippy screen is key, unless I could get away with this. Let's just tuck you away. I can trust the autofocus here. I know the auto exposure is going to work pretty well. I could totally do this for the vlogs outside. But when you get home, I like to be able to set up the shot. Is my head clipping? If your hair is out of the shot, you're a moron. Oh, I added black bar. Oh, now my hair's clipping. Take it into consideration. Like right now, if I wanted to add black bars, I'd be compensating up here. And now we're good to go. Plan ahead, asshole. Who am I even talking about? I had no idea this side street led to my normal park, Withrow Park. What do you know? What a much better street to go on. That's a loud ass car. Turbo, huh? Volkswagen your mom. If I'm being completely honest with you, this next factor played a role in me selling the S1, and that was the G100 release. I felt so insulted that Panasonic would come out with a vlogging camera that removes ibis It has these weird ass microphones that nobody's gonna use. They did zero market research. I felt like so stupid. Like, okay, vloggers are scrubs. We're scrubs. We walk around with expensive cameras. We can barely hold them, and our content sucks. But my God, just give us a little care, a little ibis in there. As Sony climbs a hill for the first time in its life. So stable, unbelievably stable. This is more stable than the S1. That brings me to the next point before I go back to the G100 and rip it in half. The ibis was bad. On every lens I used, not good. The 20mm was somewhat usable because it was so heavy you couldn't even move it if you tried. But this is better. Sony caught up to Panasonic ibis. That is bullshit. That is bullshit. Even on that Voigtlander 35mm, that's usually the ibis sweet spot. Up and above 30, it's like, oh, it's smooth. But it wasn't. No lens was smooth on that thing. But seriously, that G100, I knew then that Panasonic didn't care about me. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. And I knew they were never gonna add phase detection. So I was like, what's the point? You can't invest in that system. Everybody that uses it says, oh, it's so good, the color's 10-bit, fantastic, it's just the autofocus. When is it gonna be except the autofocus? When is that gonna leave you? When are you not gonna hear that message? You're already not hearing it. And also the fact that their slow-mo forced you into manual focus, that was annoying. It really was. Trying to focus on yourself without a flippy screen, forget that life. But this is so nice, 4K 120p with autofocus. And it's so reliable, it will never leave you. It's the joy. That's the song of good autofocus. How could I do that without a flippy screen? Sure, I didn't track it properly. He got out of the frame a couple times. That's 101, bad news. It just wasn't the camera for me, and I didn't want to grow with it and invest more money into it, and I figured I'd sell it while it was still worth something, and I still appreciate the gift. It was a gift, but he gave me a better gift in the Fuji X-T4. I was like, that's better in every way. So I almost prefer it to this in a lot of ways. Better colors, it's a lot lighter. I kind of prefer the background blur of APS-C size. Stop it down a little bit. Not quite to 2.8, let's be real with ourselves. We're at 2.5. You ever see that in your life? Probably not. Too much is too much. 1.8 all the way, like that G Master lens that we did, or I'm going to do. I might cut these videos up, release this one so it's not all A7S videos, but the 24mm 1.4 was a bit blurry, like it's a bit ridiculous. This is pretty good. And Panasonic confirmed my thoughts with the S5 release, still sticking with contrast detection. It's like, it's gonna be another amazing camera that does all this stuff. It's got the flippy screen back, it's much lighter, still no autofocus. That's gonna be their Achilles heel forever. I don't understand it. Like, for Sony, it was the ibis, that was their Achilles heel. Now it's pretty good, at least with this one lens, and active mode on, 1.1 times crop. It's doable, totally doable. Sunstars. Ah, the Black Pro Mist, you ruined my life. Here's an F8 GoPro hobo vlog for you. Well, the autofocus is doing weird things. The box is flashing a lot between eye and face. Does it matter? There's some point where Sony lenses turn into bullshit autofocus. When you stop way down. All the way. There. 2022. Is that good? So I don't know what the future is going to be like for Panasonic. I don't have a lot of faith. It's a very unpopular system. Like, it's Canon, Sony, maybe Nikon still for the photographer. Losers. It's been a while since I've made fun of you. Wow, look at that tree. Oh, I can't get it all in. Oh no, I'm back. Oh, a cliff. Rule number one in photography, you don't take the shot that kills you. There was that woman who got stung by a buffalo. It ripped her pants off. She was already hobbling, getting up there. She'll never be the same. You don't get close to wild animals. Squirrels and birds, there's your limit. Even a fox, sure, you might be able to kill it. It'll probably kill you. You haven't trained enough. So how does this Black Pro Mist filter look? Is it bad? I noticed it got a lot softer and the contrast just gone, but it had potential. There was a couple shots where it did work. Probably not this one, but it could work. So Panasonic will probably still always have a special place in my heart, because that was my first camera ever, the G85. That did phenomenal. I just chose the wrong ass lens. But once I got some good ones, I was like, wow. Still to this day, I bet you, that Canon R5 can't even beat it in dynamic range. That eye dynamic feature on, it's over. And I still like the G9. I think bringing that Leica 15mm, but using that same autofocus hack where you just tap and then it locks, and then you set it there, then you're good to go, and then you have to manual focus for the slow-mo. It's bullshit, but there's some dynamic range in that HLG profile. Decent stabe. I much prefer the Fuji Assassin way of life, or even the Sony Reptilian way. They are noble paths, my friend. So let me know what you think. Are you a Panasonic shooter? Are you riding that contrast detection off of a wave into a sea monster's mouth? Or will you move on with your life? I wish you well either way, after you buy a Fuji Assassin t-shirt. Subscribe for more videos. See you later.